from a customer success perspective, I believe that people underinvest in the success of their customers, and that raises churn rates, lowers lifetime value, and it's a very clean investment usually.
Hey, greetings, everybody. This is Deal from Happening Age Podcast, and I know that this has been turning and spinning different topics from the recent, like I would say, quarter or two, that we are trying to make sure we dig in different unique topics and unique challenges brought by AI. Although a lot of these topics that are purely built on thinking how AI can make a positive impact, but there's a negative side of things as well, and that's what we're going to be talking about. That is field operations, field sales, field services, how big of a shift that we are going through at this moment from mid to enterprise segment in tech and overall in general as well, oil and gas, manufacturing, real estate, that has always been there, but real estate also tried to be kind of like tech savvy in the times. But again, there's a big component of sales organization that are on the field, the service, and how they're being impacted by technology. This is what we're going to be talking about, and how critical it is for them to be to have technology enablement in the time of AI. So today we're going to be talking about Gadget Maps. We have today with the founder of Gadget Maps, Steve Benson, with us, who's previously a sales leader for many years, close to 2 decades, serving in Google, like all these big organizations, leading sales team. At one time, he was been awarded and recognized for one of the top performing sellers back in 2009 by Google. So thank you very much, Steve, for taking the time today and helping us learn more about you and your journey at Gadget Maps.
Absolutely, I'm happy to be here.
Love that. So, Steve, let's first start about, like, I know that you have a tech background. A lot of these field sales operations, they don't like understand and see tech in the way that it is now in the year 2025. They still think that, hey, we're just still living in Salesforce and all these legacy tooling and everything. But how did you transition into building a tech company from the very beginning? I know at core, at fundamentals, you've been a sales guy for like in the operations, getting in the trenches, talking to people, having coffee table talks and in-person meetups. But how did it all come along when you started thinking about building a technology that is going to enable these field operations, service operations with like routing and territory and all that Badger app stuff? So could you walk us through all of that?
Yeah, for sure. So my background, after business school, I went into technology. I worked at IBM, selling software and services and hardware, which is a really fun general background, I guess I would say, on the tech industry. And then from there, I went to another software company and focused just on software. One of the first software companies that had a cloud product, called a company called Autonomy, that ultimately got bought by HP. And then from there, I took that knowledge in the cloud, because we had just transitioned at that company from selling CDs on disks to selling it in the cloud. And I took that knowledge and went to Google. So selling Google's enterprise software products for a few years. And the last product I was focused on was the Google Maps API. So I had a background in sales. I was working with the Google Maps API and where to apply that technology in the world. And that's how I came up with the idea for Badger Maps. So it wasn't really a super creative play, since I had the sales background, mapping background, to create a mapping tool for field salespeople. I don't get any awards for most creative, but that's how it came about. And so I left Google in 2012, beginning of 2012, and started up Badger Maps. And we set out to solve the problems that our field salespeople have, that are primarily mobile based and map based. So, you imagine the difference between an inside salesperson and a field salesperson. The field salesperson is moving around and they're out in the field. And so they're very, very mobile. They're one of the most mobile types of employees, and they need to be connected to all their customer data, which lives in the CRM system. So that was the problem that we solved out to do, was connect the data in their CRM system to a map. And that's what we've done. And now it's, here it is, almost 14 years later. Here we are. The Badger Maps is about 100-person company now. And we have 5 products that serve field salespeople.
Interesting, interesting, and the key part is like to be able to bootstrap this platform as a founder from the commercial side of things, is kind of a big validation of like this problem being big enough. And you being being a sales leader yourself, you've lived it all this life, working at IBM and Google and all this. So how did all of this became when you actually build the product and the go-to-market side of things? How big of a challenge that was? I know you had like corporate footprints already working with people. How did that go in the beginning? How did the team came up, the co-founders, the entire like the I would say the startup is always a place of problems, right? So there's handful of people to get to see that bought into those times. So how did that journey go along?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the key takeaway there, and there's always challenges as you refer to. The key takeaway to bootstrapping, otherwise known as not raising outside funding, um, is someone has to be rich, or they have to have money already to pay for things like engineers, marketing teams, salespeople, all the things that you need as you build a company. Someone has to be able to pay for that, or a basic version of the product needs to be sellable to the end user that is willing to pay for a basic version of the product. Not everything is bootstrappable. Not everything can be bootstrapped because it's too technically complicated to build a basic version. For us, fortunately, you can build a basic version of what we built in the browser. You can build it in the browser. You can use the Google Maps API to put points in a map. You can build a basic version, spreadsheet upload, relatively quickly, right? It's the, and what's harder, there are harder things that come up later, obviously, but the initial thing, we were able to give enough value to customers that they were willing to pay us. And that was really the key to bootstrapping. So if you can go to market relatively quickly and generate revenue, then you can take that revenue and invest it back into the product. And that's the real unlock for bootstrapping. And you just can't do that if you're building quantum computers, right? There's just too much money and too much needs up front that you can't sell a basic version of it. It's too big of a hurdle. Whereas for us, it was a series of little hurdles. It's like, well, this group of customers who need this the very most, we can give them a basic version and they'll pay us money, not as much money as they would pay for the full version, but they'll pay some money for this basic version. And we're able to kind of do that and give people more and more value over time. And that was really the key to bootstrapping.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreement on this because, at the end of the day, whatever cost that you have, you got to make sure that the quickest you can deliver value as bootstrap founder, easier for you to, pay, for the recurring cost of the technology and team. Even if you are spending all your time with a handful of people, you got to make sure that you make enough revenue as a product or able to validate it with the people or companies that actually are willing to pay. Instead of like a lot of these startups I know that your product is slightly different, but a lot of these startups that go with freemium plans and they try to, get some traction in the beginning, but the cost has to be pretty low with AI, APIs and everything today. The cost is so hard to, do the economics right when you're not generating revenue or pre-revenue. Interesting. So now we're going to be talking about AI a lot later in the segment, but I'm more interested in first talking about like what's your viewpoint as a sales leader and the core B2B SaaS, I would say mid-market to enterprise, investing into field sales. I know that they are still investing, but they don't have like fully organized, like you have VPs of sales, they have VPs of revenue, but they don't have like specifically leadership or category of leadership or divided suite division of operations only for field operations. Some of the companies that came on our product like MuleSoft and all these companies that are being Salesforce or Slack, they have their teams, but what's your viewpoint of, trickling it down, like making sure that like they have like small, like mid-sized companies, they do have people on the field side. So how do you see this
Mhm.
category moving? What's your viewpoint on this?
Well, for starters, our main market isn't technology. So technology used to be sold with field salespeople. That's how I started my job out. It was meeting people face to face. As software has gotten cheaper, we've ended up spending just as much money on software, but because it's thought of as a monthly expense, it's not as big on a monthly basis, I guess, or even an annual basis. Whereas I used to sell a CD for $1 million, right, way back in the day. But um, as this has developed over time, um, you need less. I guess I would say uh, people have been willing to invest less in the relationship. And like, you don't fly out to meet with your customer in Kansas. You just meet with them over a Zoom. Um, Whereas in 2007, I would have flown out to meet with them because it was going to be a big upfront spend. There's risk. They're just getting a CD, right? They want to make sure they've got to trust you. They've got to know it's going to work. They've got to, there's it's a lot easier to be like, oh, well, I can just try it out, and so that takes a lot of the risk away. And I'm not paying $1 million. I'm paying 30 grand a month. So it's just that in general, the software industry has moved away from field sales and towards inside sales. But that's not our core market. Our core market is things like med device, pharmaceutical, construction, healthcare services, stuff like that. Um, Things that the main way they go to market is meeting people face to face. I actually believe that for people that are selling expensive pieces of software, and by expensive, if it costs more than 50 grand a year, it's expensive. It's like that's a meaningful investment. People want to need to trust you that it's going to work. They're putting real money behind it. I imagine in those cases, and certainly this is how we behave. If you meet someone face to face, it compresses the sales cycle, lowers the risk for them, gives you a competitive edge over your competitors, etc. So
Yeah, because
I
I'm
think
sorry,
people
go
don't
ahead.
do that enough, basically. People don't do field sales enough in technology compared to, in a lot of industries we talk to, if someone's going to be spending 3 grand a month with you, that industry, of course, you would send out a field salesperson. That's a big deal, right?
Mm.
Whereas in software, we're like, oh, I mean, maybe if they were spending 10 grand a month, we'd like fly out and buy them some steak, but otherwise, no way. So I do think that there's a missed opportunity there for software companies to do more field sales and to get more meet with their customers more often, both before and after the sale. I would say meeting with customers after the sale, whether it's an executive or a customer success associate, someone who's in charge of the relationship post sale. Um, I think that lowers churn, builds trust, enhances communication, gets customer case studies that that face-to-face interaction is valuable there too.
Love it. And because the biggest problem is, again, of course, average like mid-market to early enterprise, these small enterprises, they always have their average contract value of more than 80 to 150 grand. It's just that. And a lot of these are spending time in building and forging relationship with their customers, because that's a big opportunity to meet in person. There's no substitute of in-person meeting, any substitute. So and by building relationship with the customers, that enable them to retain and increase the lifetime value of the customer, and that is the biggest challenge, to be very honest. The revenue retention in the tech today, even from smaller to like companies going up market, because they are just moved on to meeting notes and all these like online meetings and weekly cadences or quarterly business reviews online, and they get a lot of data from a million different sources, and they already know about their customers, their interaction and everything. And this is what we do at Hypergate, by the way. I'm a big believer in that too, but there's a huge opportunity that they're missing out by not deploying their team members for, of course, for specific contract value that makes sense economically. Uh, to not like go in person, have those kind of trust level and relationship level, even as you mentioned, pre-sales and post-sales, and helping them see value and know you more as humans, as teams, as culture, and you get to know them more too. And that's why all these big companies, you talk about Fortinet, talk about Google, you talk about MuleSoft, Salesforce, all these big companies, they have like, of course, they don't have a you know organization pretty much built on just for field sales, but they have like a lot of their technical people, pre-sales, post-sales, going, meeting their customers and having coffee table talk, going to clubs together. We've got like some really cool stories from the team at Fortinet that they do with their clients, for different hangouts that they do just to build a relationship and all that. So relationship piece is also, as you also mentioned, has been missing in tech. So now you mentioned that you're more in the manufacturing. What kind of is customer segment are you trying to go up market with and penetrate?
So the biggest industries for us are people that sell expensive things, competitive things, recurring revenue things, often businesses where relationships are important. That tends to be where you'll deploy a field sales team out to talk to your customers. Um, Commonly found in things like medical device, pharmaceutical, construction, healthcare, things of that nature. The different things that we do for people, our flagship product is called the Badger Map, and that's basically a map on your phone, and it's linked up to data that's in your CRM. Usually, you can also upload a spreadsheet, but it's your customer information, and we give it to the field sales reps in a mapping and routing environment. That way, they can build out their schedule for next Thursday. When they know they're going out to this suburb to visit this customer, they can see who's on the way, who's on the way back. What if I went this way? Who's important? Who do I want to see? Who haven't I seen for a long time? All that data that's in the CRM, we make useful for making decisions about who you're going to be spending time with when you're in the field. So that's kind of the first and the primary thing that the company does. That's our flagship product and what we started out to do. After that, after we built that, we built a territory design tool. So a territory alignment tool, meaning I have 150 sales reps across the country. I would like each one to have a fair territory, a balanced territory. And to me, I'm balancing the territories on fields in the CRM, but the fields for me are things like how much revenue is coming out of that customer, how many customers are there in this territory, how many prospects are there in this territory. Build me territories that are fair, 150 of them across the country that are fair based on those particular metrics. And it's different for every customer. And then we'll just automatically generate those 150 things and give them a bunch of tools to tweak them and change them as the sales team changes. Like, oh, well, we just fired the person in the Seattle office who is in charge of that territory, and we know someone who we want to hire is in this Kansas office. So we want to shift. We want to shift all the territories a little bit to the left, right? 2% to the left. And things like that, and people are constantly like, oh, this person went on paternity leave, so we need to shift their territory down for the next 4 months and have everyone pick it up evenly. We can't just give it all to this person because that's not going to work. So it's a constant adjustment to all the territories. We built a piece of software to do that. And then they've got a handful of other tools like lead routing. Like as the leads come in, we automatically route them to the proper territory, and a handful of other mapping and other useful tools for field sales teams.
Absolutely. One quick question on this, and before we jump into AI, do you guys also have reporting dashboard for, like, let's say if I'm head of operations, sales operations, like field operations, so I have like 150 field rep going all across the East Coast. I'm able to see like, hey, these are the activities, these are maybe some of the accomplished key takeaways that I need to get on top of all these reps and all these critical meetups.
Exactly. Yeah, so first we have reporting on all the data coming out of the field, and a big part of the value of the product is Badger Maps is effectively a front end to the CRM with a mapping and routing environment. So you capture data in it. If you're capturing data into the CRM, often you have to they're built to be best used on computers. So you're often but someone who's on the run, it's like they're not leaving this meeting and they've got another meeting in 20 minutes, and they're not going to like, swing by a Starbucks and log into the internet and, get on and hunt and peck around their CRM to take notes. They want to just do it really quickly on their phone. And most, if not all CRMs at this point have mobile apps. But I guess what's useful about our way of capturing data is it's right in your existing workflow. So like at the end, after you visit someone and you're about to go to your next meeting, we're prompting you, hey, fill out these 8 fields that your company really wanted filled out about every meeting. And then those fields go to the different areas of the CRM where they're needed. So it might be under, this field might go to an account tab. This field might go to the opportunity object. This field might go to the contact object. This field is like a task object. And so that
Gotcha.
we're filling out the right things in the right places automatically without the rep having to do it, which, in giving them the ability to use things like drop downs and speech to text is really useful to capturing that data really quickly. And that's a big part of the value. So then you can run reports on all that, to your question. Like we have reporting on all that
Gotcha.
stuff that's happening. Whether or not you're using it with a CRM or standalone, you have that. And then also we have like a dashboarding and gamification product called Scoreboard. Badger Scoreboard is where you can see charts and graphs on.
That's more for leaders, right?
There's a piece for leaders, but there's also the individual reps. You can give them a view of how their performance is in charts and graphs compared to their peers. And there's a gamification element because field salespeople are competitive individuals. A lot of times they frequently come from backgrounds like athletics. And, they played football in high school, and they're competitive, and so it's good to show them how they're doing against their competitors, the other sales reps. So they're team members, but they're kind of salespeople are kind of competing with one another from a performance perspective. And so it's nice to show them, well, hey, like here's all the this is how many meetings everyone's done so far this month, like face-to-face customer meetings that have been done this month, like capturing all that data and showing it to them in a bar chart, and they can see where they are relative to everyone else. And they can see, you're able to choose whatever you want to show them. So you can be like, okay, here's meetings and here's sales, and they'll be able to see, oh, the people who are doing the most meetings are also getting the most sales. So or whatever the real needle movers are for your business, you can show them charts and graphs on that are particular to their territory.
Love it. And this is more relatable to other reps as well. Let's say, for example, 5 reps working in New York City, and they already know like what other reps are doing there, what are the quick wins that they have, and all the data and everything, and they feel motivated. And they cannot relate to somebody like in Kansas City, as you mentioned. So his territory it brings them closer to how they echo with those operations, and on a level that of different accomplishments they want to get out of it. Perfect. So now I'm thinking about, you built a lot of things like in the product, like in 12 years. Like I know that you've been a part of the Google Maps team as well back in the years. Like you worked on the API as well. So now that you have an integration with Google Maps, now this territory thing, now this reporting and scorecard that you have. How did you see the impact of AI when this first time hit at GPT-3? Was as a chief executive, what are you thinking, like how fast we can do, what kind of initiatives you did take at that time with this generative AI and everything, and what's your viewpoint of its impact in your industry, like building apps, building technologies for teams, sales teams in the field?
Yeah. So I guess when I first came into contact with the technology, I wondered what it could do for us, and we started experimenting and exploring it. I think it does different parts for different things for different parts of the organization for certain, and speeds up different processes in different ways. I guess to your question, like what did I think from it? In terms of capacity to build more tools faster, I think that's certainly an area we've seen it really speed up. The engineering team is one of the teams that's gotten the biggest lift. I'd say engineering and probably also marketing have gotten the biggest lift from AI, and it's able to do a lot of the things like research would have taken a long time to figure out how something worked or how to understand it. And now we're able to get those answers really quickly. It's able to write code. It's able to do a bunch of things that make the engineers go faster. And that's going to have a lot of really interesting impacts both on the on I think it's one of these technologies that's going to touch every organization and make us all faster and more efficient to some degree.
Yeah, well, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, but since you're building apps and you're capturing data, like with this AI, it's all about data. So as much as you can ingest and give it a context, it improves the capabilities. It's as simple, and you can do it at scale. We're learning more patterns about different customer verticals, industry verticals, customers and field operations. And I know that there's such a diverse kind of field operations that are getting to use Badger app, and you always learn. So previously it was humans, now it's AI. So AI is always going to be faster at replicating, faster at understanding the contextual component of it, and that's how you actually train it. So are you also thinking about training or fine tuning the AI models for apps and territory that you mentioned, make it really really smarter on a base level for some layman like me? Like I'm using Google Maps and let's say in the streets of San Francisco versus I'm using Apple Map. I see Apple Map is more intelligent in terms of some of the data layers that they have on top of these mapping APIs, and it gives you different outcomes. So how you are investing or thinking about investing, making this navigation or this routing more and more efficient given the data and capabilities of AI.
Yeah, well, I mean, in addition to making us just be able to build more features faster, like with traditional engineering, it just speeds up traditional engineering. We also can incorporate it into our product. And so that's something that we've done is we will make suggestions to salespeople about which customers we believe they should focus on, given where they're already going to be near on the map. So if we know if someone's building a route and they're going, they're going to be driving an hour this way to go see this dentist in Springfield, we can tell them they can hit a button and say, "Hey, Badger, would you suggest to us who else I should be focused on in that area?" And we'll give them, and we'll by looking at their data, we'll give them 5 recommendations of, hey, these customers look like they should be seen for these reasons. And then if they want more, they can just hit a button again and get 5 more. And usually it's like for salespeople have a lot of context that just isn't in the data a lot of the times. So which is why we design that way, is because they'll look at the 5 and they'll be like, oh, that one and that one. Wait, let me see this one, and look at all the details of like, oh no, not that one because of this. But and then they'll ask for more, and then we'll give them more, right? So it's they have context and knowledge that we don't have, which is why we just suggest it, and then they can just click on the
Suggesting
ones
and
they
human
want,
in the
and then
loop. Yeah.
they then add it to they add that to their route, and then we'll optimize the route and give them the best way to go through all those points, obviously, and build the schedule and do all the other things we do. But we've just incorporated AI and machine learning right into that workflow, our
Gotcha. I
existing
love the way
workflow.
that you're, yeah, I love the way that you're taking an augmented approach with human in the loop, because of course a lot of things are mission critical, and of course recommendation could be close to being efficient but couldn't be efficient without a human in the loop. They have to prove it, because and that's what the job of AI is. It's not to replace a human, to augment a human capabilities. Let's say you might have come across, like previously you used to have like 10 or 15 people in the team to do some certain thing in technology or machine learning, as you mentioned, data science. Now you can do it with 30% of the people. It's been cut like 70%, even more. A lot of these companies are claiming more, but to be realistic, it's 70% cut down. Perfect. So
Yeah.
now we have around 12 minutes, and I'm absolutely loving this conversation where it's going. Now, this event that I talked to you about, like October 28th, exactly 1 month ago, we like brought in like CS leaders, go-to-market leaders, founders from the Valley. Some came from New York City too, and we talked about like, hey, that's fine. You're growing year on year, investing into acquisition, doing the marketing, customer education, training, and all that. How much of that are you like recurring revenues? Like they're always bragging about it. I don't want like people to only talk about flashy things. So how much of that you're putting in back for their success? of the customer. So like how you're enabling them in terms of training, in terms of recording their interactions with the platform and channeling them to the best success metrics and best value paths. For that was the name of the event, like deriving value path in the GTM 2025 or 2026. So we had a CCO of Vercel. I'm sure you know these folks. Paul, great guy. He has CCO of Content Scare. Both of them are pretty big, like close to 10 billion valuation. So now, what is your viewpoint and what kind of initiatives are you taking internally towards a success? It could be as simple as, hey, we know that these are wins in certain territory. We already know that these are success parameters and in terms of data points of interactions inside the Google, inside the Badger map, inside of the territory app, inside of the Gamify app. So how you're interacting those usage metrics and articulating it for their success and putting them right when they're not on it. Like, let's say they're not fully onboarded, they're not well adopted to the platform, activated to the platform, they're not consuming it in the right way. They might be, under leveraging some of the features. Maybe there are some strong growth opportunities that you're not on top of. So maybe you can talk about it in the renewals. So the goal of success is to helping them see value fast, helping them retain, helping them expand, and increasing the lifetime value as partners, as some crew of family members, to have shared values, not like forced retentions or forced expansion. So as a CEO, what kind of initiative do you think? We are doing that, by the way, at HyperEngage, enabling these teams. But this is a big talk of.
Yeah, absolutely. So, from a customer success perspective, I believe that people underinvest in the success of their customers, and that raises churn rates, lowers lifetime value, and it's a very clean investment. Usually, if you have a nice product, it's still probably too hard for people to use without help, right? And without someone to pick up the phone when they have a question. And so I think one of the first employees you should have right around the time that, if you have enough money to hire a salesperson to win business, as soon as they start winning business, you should have enough money to hire a CSM to someone to run your customer success and make sure that customer is onboarded successfully. If there's integrations involved, integrates successfully, and it's going to drive renewals. That person's in charge of the renewals, and that frees up your salesperson to not have to deal with any of those things. So I think that it's a great strategy to have people that are dealing with the customer until the sale occurs, and then someone who deploys and manages that relationship going forward, including the renewal and any upsells. And so I think that's somewhere that people underinvest. I think customer support is another area people underinvest. And that's just, the quick interactions people need to have with you regarding your product, right? It could be they just need something tweaked or they need something changed. But having a customer support team that hits their desk, they just take care of things quickly and efficiently with tickets. And if they need to escalate it to the customer success team from customer support, they have that option. In terms of trends for this job type, I think better leveraging data is a big trend for this type of group, like figuring out what our customers doing with the software, what is this particular customer not doing with the software, not taking advantage of, and finding out why or enabling them to do better is really important. I think partnerships, so making friends with the other people that are involved in the ecosystem. So, if like we work with the CRM, our people that manage Badger and help our customers should be in touch with the people that help them manage their CRM. So they're a strategic integrator partner, they go by SIs. The partners that deploy the CRM help manage the CRM for a customer. It's more common in some CRM ecosystems than others, but like if you buy Salesforce or Microsoft Dynamics, an enterprise software, it's enterprise CRM for larger companies in general, you'll almost always have someone externally that helps deploy it, manage it, et cetera. So we need to work with those people because we touch that piece of software, and to the customer, it's all one solution. And so partnerships, I think, are also very important and underinvested in when people talk about their customer success.
Yeah, love it. And I know that this is the core function of success, like in the KPIs and goal, what they should be responsible for. You mentioned renewals and mitigating the churn and all. So how is that in place at Badger Maps? Have you put like handful of minutes, 8 minutes? What kind of initiatives are you taking in terms of like, I mean, it could be bare minimum, like using Google Sheets or updating, having some sort of automation, workflow automation internally for your success or customer support?
Yeah, I mean, well, because they're customers, we try to keep all that data about our customers in the CRM system. Um, I think it's you want one place where all that truth exists.
System of record, yeah. Source of truth
Yeah.
and one system of record, yeah.
Now, does that mean we never use spreadsheets to keep track of this project or this task or this? Of course we do, but we try to keep that type of data in the CRM. Um, there are add-ons to some CRM systems that are specifically for the customer success rep and that management of the customer, and they're often also connected to the data coming out of your product, showing who's using what and when and how. Um, we don't use one of those, but I'm told they're very useful. But that's not something that we haven't gone to that level. So I can't tell you, oh, this customer used this exact feature and pressed this button at this time. So we're not that granular with it. But still a smaller company. I think as you get
Mhm.
larger and larger, you tend to focus more and more on those details.
Absolutely, because you can set some sort of like high level success metrics on maybe journey level, like whether they are fully onboarded, whether they activated, whether they talk to our support and being served. These kind of parameters that
Yeah.
you can still do within your CRM, regardless of
That
any
sort of
CRM
thing
that
I
you
would
use.
absolutely recommend doing within the CRM. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of these customers and even our partners and fans that are doing business tech and these kind of verticals, they're also starting out with this, and then you evolve. Like as you mentioned, it's a one system required to get your team equipped and see with these basic parameters around success, around support as well, because support drives success. It's an analog of success, just like marketing is an analog of sales. Who knows it better than you, by the way? So this is quite interesting that you're thinking around those. So now, last question to you is, I was kind of curious to in picking your brains on this. Like, how do you see like being a bootstrap business? I'm also a bootstrap business, but I'm seeing a lot of noise. A lot of these founders come to my podcast and LinkedIn gives me depression. Some sort of like, hey, well, I'm not raising a pre-seed or seed with a really good accelerator or VC. I look up to these folks, Jason and David, founders of Basecamp. They're also the creators of Ruby. That's a language, and they're one of the finest bootstrap companies, and they are going to be one of the fewer to be a $10 billion valuation company in a few years. Wish them best. But how do you see it? Does it give you a freedom versus does it give you, hey, like I gotta go slow and my own pace, have the freedom and all that mindset? Or second, hey, I know what I'm gonna do. These are the things that I can achieve, and I have enough capital in me, and I don't need investors. Even not just for the capital. A lot of these investors are strategic. It helps you go into different markets, different regions, different continents. You mentioned globally. So what is that is driving? What kind of mindset that is driving you, and what makes you excited in the year 2026?
Well, I guess the first question is when you're asking yourself, should I bootstrap or not bootstrap? The first question is, am I investable? And the vast majority of SaaS businesses are not VC investable businesses. And so, there are very specific characteristics that a company needs if they want to be VC investable. And very explosive growth coming out of the gates. Um, really pretty meaningful TAM, and explosive growth meaning you used to be able to, if you had $1 million in ARR and you were growing at 40% a year, you were a VC investable business. The bar is much higher now, I think. I think, especially in the AI area, these are very risky businesses, but some will have massive outcomes, and be AI as a tool, is a technology that's going to be used by every business effectively and in the world. And so, and there are going to be AI solutions that collect money from lots and lots of businesses in the world as a result. And so that there are, you're talking about creating new massive technology companies, which tend to be super valuable businesses. So I think there will be some real winners there. I think that this is a type of technology that, because we're investing in it, there's a lot of spillover value. So it's like good for society that we created this stuff in a lot of ways. It'll be beneficial in many ways. There are some risks with the technology as well, of course. And I'm certainly not an expert in those, but I do think that that's the first thing that you have to ask yourself. Am I investable, given that this is the bar is set by the AI businesses right now? So VCs are looking and evaluating, of these 2,000 companies that we're looking at, 3 of them are going to be huge, the rest are going to be dead. So it's a real winner. It's a, maybe that's a little extreme. Maybe not, they won't all be dead, but there's going to be a lot of blood on the field. Whereas in SaaS businesses, for example, it was like, hey, I'm making $1 million a year. I've identified this group of people who we create a lot of value for, and we will continue to create value for them. The bar was just lower, and it was like the revenue was up front. There wasn't a ton of cost up front, so it is a different world today than it was when I made these decisions, for example, I guess is my point. So when does bootstrapping doesn't always work. I guess that was another part of your question, like, when does it work? Because it doesn't always work is the implication. And it doesn't always work if you're in a competitive space where other people are raising money, because it is a space that is worthy of investment. It's hard to not raise money, right? So it's you have to be in a space that no one thinks is going to have massive outcomes, because if people think there are going to be massive outcomes in it, then and those competitors are going to attract VC money, then it makes it difficult to compete with them.
Absolutely.
Now, there's always a trade-off on growth too. I mean, that's the other piece of your question, was like, bootstrapping, does it affect growth? It just makes everything take longer, right? If in 2012 I raised $10 million because my idea was so sexy, then it really took me until mid 2017 to have a great product. I mean, we were selling it, and it was on the street in 2013, 2014, 2015, but it wasn't great until 2017. And if I had $10 million to spend, I could have made it great a lot faster. So there's definitely a time trade-off. I think it does give you a certain amount of independence, which is valuable if you don't have investors. But you also lose something too by not having investors, because these are useful fellows, right? Or ladies and fellows, I suppose, right? These are useful people to have around and have on your side, and so. So yeah, it does affect growth, is the bottom line. If you spend less money, but you do end up with greater ownership and greater control at the end. I think a lot of people act like this is a choice. A lot more people think about this as a choice than it really is, because you either are in a situation where you basically have to raise VC because it's competitive and other people are, or you're in a situation where VC does not want to invest. So I'd worry less about should I, would I, and I would ask more, could I?
I love the way that you put it. Great, Steve. It was really nice getting to know you and your journey and all that you're building, and just you're taking life as it is. Like I went to this K2, second highest mountain in the world, last year, and first time realized in my life that life is generally and naturally slow, and we made it so fast artificially. And and we're so tiny, like we're so sitting in front of these glaciers and all these mountains and water streams and all, we're just tiny. So that was the biggest lesson that I learned from that K through trip. We tracked around 160 miles on foot in 7 days. So I lost a lot of my pounds, which is good, but that was a memorable experience. So thank you very
Oh
much
yeah.
for sharing and being your real self and authentic and concrete in this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. This has been fantastic to chat.
Love it. Likewise.